What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. We cover political news, keep you up to date, and keep you informed with everything that the government does. Now, we're going to talk about Ukraine a little bit today because we've had some Russian propaganda, folks. Yes, the big bad bully Putin is spilling out his Russian propaganda all over the place, and we don't want the Congress to get swayed by Russian propaganda. No, we don't want them to think for themselves. We want to push our narrative onto Congress and have them vote for $60 billion for Ukraine because Ukraine's democracy, and we must protect democracy all over the place. Well, I hate to say it, but Ukraine's not a democracy. And plus, calling it democracy is kind of studious, if you will, because, democracy isn't a good thing, right? Of course, going out and voting for your representative is a great thing, but like they always say, we must protect our democracy here in America. Well, America's not a democracy. We use democratic means to vote in our representatives, but we are a constitutional republic, which there is a very big difference in that, right? We have representatives that we vote into power. We don't vote in all the representatives. No, we vote in the representatives from our own little district, right? We don't control what somebody in another state and in another district, who they can vote in, right? We don't control who the president is. That is voted in by an electoral college vote, which is something totally different as well. It's not done by popular vote. But enough of all that. All right, let's get into the story right quick because we've got some rhinos in Congress, right? We've got the House Freedom Caucus, which, I'm a big fan of because these people don't like federal power. They want to make the government smaller, which I think is a good thing. You take away power from the federal government, give it to the states where it belongs, because this is a republic. Once again, it's the United States. We're not a united federalism, right? We are United States. That means we have independence from each other. Like I always say, this is why I don't like federal bans on abortion, right? I'm a big proponent of getting rid of abortion. I don't like it whatsoever. But do I think that the United States should outright just ban abortion? No, I don't. As a matter of fact, I don't like abortion whatsoever, but I do think that the states have the right. If California wants abortion, let them have it. Let them kill their kids all they want to. I will still get up and say that is wrong. Y'all should not be doing this. But if the people in that state want to do that, who am I to tell them not to? Now, I will vote with every ounce of my being to get rid of abortion in Louisiana, where I do live. But that's my state, right? That's what I care about. I care about my state. I don't like federalism, but we're getting way off topic. Let's get into the story. House Intelligence Committee Chair says Russian propaganda has spread through parts of GOP. Check it out, y'all. House Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Turner said Sunday that Russian propaganda has absolutely seeped its way into Congress, saying some of his Republican colleagues have repeated false claims on the chamber's floor, right? And this is something I've talked about before, right quick. Just a little interjection that congressmen and women, they have what is called super First Amendments. They can get up and disparage anybody they want to. They can lie through their freaking teeth. They can say anything they want. Doesn't matter, and they can't get in trouble for it as long as it's on the House floor. So take that however you want. It's absolutely true. We see directly coming from Russia attempts to mask communications that there are anti-Ukraine and pro-Russia messages, some of which we even hear being uttered on the House floor, the Ohio Republican told CNN's Jake Tapper on the State of the Union. Turner's comments come after House Foreign Affairs Chair Michael McCaul told Puck News last week that Russian propaganda has infected a good chunk of the GOP base. Turner, who has been an outspoken advocate of passing additional aid to embattled Ukraine, said Sunday, "There are members of Congress today who still incorrectly say that this conflict between Russia and Ukraine is over NATO, which of course it's not." Now, That, my friends, it's funny they're yelling about, oh, Russian propaganda. Well, that is United States propaganda, by the way, because, yes, NATO is a factor. No, it's not the entire reason for the war. Of course, we heard it from the horse's mouth. If you haven't seen Tucker Carlson's interview with Putin, he says it outright. You could argue, oh, well, that's Russian propaganda from the horse's mouth. Yeah, but he doesn't say anything about NATO, really. He gives his reasons, which are bullshit reasons, if you ask me, and doesn't justify invading. I will say that right off top. Putin's an evil dictator, but his reasons basically is Ukraine has historically been part of Russia. Hang on, that has nothing to do with NATO. His other reasons is to denazify because there's a big Nazi movement in Ukraine. Well, you know, some of that is true, but some of that is not true. And like I've said before, once again, that doesn't justify the leader of a totally different country invading another country to get rid of an ideology that terrorizes a specific group, right? That has been known to be an extremist ideology that nobody really likes these days except for a very small portion of the world's population, right? Nobody really agrees with Nazism anymore because we saw the effects of Nazism. You know, millions of Jews killed, millions of people killed to fight a war to stop Nazism, right? So that's what he claims he's doing this for, right? Now, getting back to NATO, to say that NATO has no part in this whatsoever is complete BS because it does play a small portion in this, right? Like when the Soviet Union fell, NATO said, okay, we agree, we won't move one single inch to the east. And all they've done since then is move to the east. Putin has also said, if you try to put Ukraine in NATO, that will be war. That's a red line you cannot cross. If you do cross it, it will be all-out war. And these people want to make you believe that saying that this Ukraine war is over NATO is Russian propaganda is just outright funny because they're just trying to deflect from the fact that they want Ukraine in NATO for some reason. Why would we want such a corrupt nation? I would rather, honestly, have Russia in NATO than Ukraine in NATO. But this is coming from the same people that would love more than anything to send $60 billion to Ukraine than to give that money to the United States, give it back to the taxpayers, or, hey, build the Francis Scott Key Bridge again with this money, right? Get some more border security agents. Close the freaking border. Do something with that money instead of sending it to fund war. Why are these people so adamant about funding war, sending hundreds of thousands of soldiers to go die, to fight a pointless battle over a tiny sliver of land? You know, I've said it before, from what I've seen, right? Russia claims to be this big, powerful army and all this stuff. Well, they haven't done very well against Ukraine, so you gotta think, I wonder why they haven't done that well against Ukraine. What's really going on here? Maybe it's because they don't want to take over Ukraine. Otherwise, they have the manpower and the equipment to completely run over Ukraine, regardless of any help from the West. We can send all the money we want. We can pour billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine, but eventually they're going to run out of manpower. Right? They're already getting low on people to fight that war. So that tells me that if Putin wanted to run over Ukraine and totally invade and then push into NATO, which is a very stupid thing to do, then he would have already done so. It's been over 2 years, and those lines of control haven't changed very much, have they? No, they haven't. What does that tell you? That tells me, at least, that Putin's not interested in going any further than what he did. You know, he gave his reasons that, oh, Ukraine is historically part of Russia, blah, 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 denazification, blah, 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 freaking blah. That ain't got nothing to do with it. If you look at the situation, you can tell he wanted his land bridge to Crimea, That's what he's got. That's what he's defending. He's not pushing past that point. He doesn't seem to care about the whole of Ukraine. He doesn't seem to care about pushing into NATO territory, which would be stupid. He's always wanted a buffer of states between Russia and NATO. Why would he push his control up to NATO territory if he wants a buffer? That makes no sense whatsoever. Do you think that he really thinks that he can somehow invade NATO and nobody does anything? It's not going to be World War III, all-out war with NATO? He knows damn good and well that NATO forces, once given enough time to build up in Europe, would completely run over his forces. I would say within 2 years, we would be in Moscow, given conventional means, given the fact that no nukes start flying, right? But soon as we start pushing into Russian territory, Putin's going to look at that as an existential threat to their survivability, and he's going to start blasting nukes. Then what do we have? We have collapsed Europe, possibly collapsed United States. And why these people would want to push Putin to that point makes no sense to me, but let's keep going. To the extent that this propaganda takes hold, it makes it more difficult for us to really see this as an authoritarian versus democracy battle, he added. The Senate passed a $95.3 billion foreign aid bill that included assistance for Ukraine and Israel in February, but House Speaker Mike Johnson, whose future as leader is in the party, remains uncertain following Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene's move to oust him from the speakership, refused to immediately bring the package for a vote, which I've said was a good thing, but however, he did say that as soon as Congress comes back in, that they're going to vote on it, and you know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. We have way too many rhinos in the Republican Party, so that's probably going to pass, which, if that does happen, Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to go ahead forth with her ouster of Mike Johnson, and we're going to say bye-bye to Mike Johnson and hello to Hakeem Jeffries. Not really, but once again, Mike Johnson is going to force the Freedom Caucus to force him out of speakership because he is not putting the interest of the American people first. He's putting the interest of Ukraine first. By passing this bill, by allowing them to vote on it, yeah, you're putting the interests of a foreign country over the interests of your own country. You are the Speaker of the House of Representatives. You're not the president. This isn't some foreign affairs committee or anything like that. This has to do with the United States. Turner said Sunday he does not believe Johnson is at any risk of being ousted by the Chaos Caucus, pointing to members who are seeking attention for themselves and trying to stop all of the important work in Congress, right? All of the important work in Congress, like sending $60 billion to a foreign country, right? Congress is the legislative body for the United States, not for Ukraine, not for Israel, not for the rest of the world. Who cares about these places, right? I don't mind sending help, but when you're just willing to funnel money, essentially a blank check, to fund a war, I have a very, very big problem with that. And you can throw out all the quote-unquote Russian propaganda you want. I could care less if Putin is invading Ukraine over NATO or over denazification or over if Zelensky called him a prick. I could care less about that. If we're not trying to stop the war, I'm not interested at all in funding your war. I could care less, to be honest with you, right? The only thing war does is kill people. That's the only good that ever comes out of war. So why would I want to fund it? Why do these people think that I can be swayed? Oh, just because Russian propaganda is out there, just because they say that this war is over NATO. What are they trying to say with this story? That's what I want to know. I don't understand these people whatsoever. You know, I could care less, like I said, about what goes on in Russia and what goes on in Ukraine. They have nothing to do with the United States. So, screw NATO. Who cares, right? But you can see exactly what it is. It's just a bid for more power. They want power over Ukraine, giving them all this money and helping them defend off evil Putin will somehow give them more power. I don't understand these people whatsoever. Instead of trying to come to some sort of solution on war, which is what sane people do, the insane people we have in our government seem to want to just fund a war, right? We've always been about that. Ever since World War II, that's all we've done is start new wars and fund foreign wars by proxy. What good comes of that? Nothing. Just death and destruction. And why these people get up there and argue for it as some sort of moral victory to send money to Ukraine, and they get people behind it with their own United States propaganda, right? Oh, we got to get behind democracy. We got to help them fend off the evil invaders.
And short circuit because, oh my God, look, I got attacked. It's like, yeah, well, you enabled the psychopaths, and I wouldn't recommend that. So that's what happens. Compassion, defund the police, no protection, rule by psychopath. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that.
No. Who cares about all that? Why don't you send some negotiators over there? It just blows my mind that these people are just so willing to give your hard-earned taxpayer dollars to a foreign country to help them blow each other up. Just absolutely blows my mind. And people argue with me in the comments all the time. Well, we got to help Ukraine. No, I'm sorry. We don't have to help Ukraine. Why haven't we tried to stop the war? That's my biggest gripe with all this. They're not trying to stop it whatsoever. They're just willing to continue to funnel money into it for no apparent reason. What is the end game? They don't have an end game, right? They want Ukraine in NATO. Well, who cares, right? If a foreign leader says, no, that's a red line, it's going to be war, then how about let's not take that path? How about let's try to side with some peace here? But no, our politicians don't care about peace. Obviously, look at what we've done over the past 80 years. That tells you all you need to know, right? And that's all I got for this one, y'all. Well, I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments section. They can try to put out their propaganda and say, oh, well, this is just Russian propaganda, all they want. But that doesn't factor in to why I don't want to send aid to Ukraine. Not to aid a war, not to fund a foreign war. Let me know what you think, though, down in the comments section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.